physicians that are not in a position to really understand the process. Frankly, it's quite confusing. You know, I litigated this for almost 45 days in court. I doubt there's very many people who have spent more time looking at these regulations. I'm a trained advocate and lawyer. I have a hard time. There was a really sort of funny moment when myself and John Conroy, another lawyer working on the file, and the Crown Counsel working on the file, and Philippe Lucas, one of our expert witnesses, we're all sitting down with these forms and the regulations trying to figure something out. Whether something was legal or illegal or how was it covered by the regulations, we just couldn't do it. I mean, we just couldn't do it. And you've got, you know, some 60 years of practical legal experience and a whole bunch of school just sitting there scratching their heads over these regulations. So you can see it's a cumbersome process, and that's, I think, part of the difficulty. The other part of the difficulty on the access piece, frankly, is that doctors don't want to sign these forms. Doctors don't want to sign these forms because doctors, allopathic physicians, aren't familiar with natural health products like cannabis. This is not what they do. They're familiar with single compound, double-blind, clinical study, you know, Food and Drug Act, pharmaceutical products. That's what they're used to. I think it's exceedingly unfair of the government to make allopathic physicians the gatekeepers to persons' legality in this program. And in fact, the doctors do too. And they said before Health Canada came up with this scheme, we don't want the job. We don't know anything about marijuana. This isn't what we want to do. Our insurers, and you listen to your insurers if you're a lawyer or a doctor quite a bit, our insurers don't want us to sign these forms. You can see that that would engender quite a bit of reluctance amongst physicians.
So Kirk, is it changing? Where are we at with that?
Well, where we're at on the access piece is no, it's not unfortunately changing. At least the courts have thus far been reluctant to step in and say, look, the access end is flawed. We argued, I thought, quite strenuously in the Barron case that, look, this is sort of a similar situation, if you will, to the Morgenthaler case in which the therapeutic abortion regime in Canada was challenged. And if you'll recall, the facts of that situation is there used to be a system in Canada where to get an abortion you had to go in and you had to go before a panel in a hospital of supposed experts, and there were these committees, and they considered your case, they thought about it, but they were really only available in a few hospitals around Canada, and so effectively most of Canada, most women in Canada, could not get an abortion just on a practical level. They just couldn't get it because they didn't have access to these committees. I think it's the same thing today with medical marijuana. Most people that qualify to use medical marijuana are unable to enter this program for whatever reason, whether they choose not to or whether they just can't find a doctor. And I can sit here and read you email after email after email after email that I get on a daily basis from people that are absolutely in tragic situations because they cannot get the protections of the law. And, you know, I'm in Vancouver. If you're a sick person in Vancouver with a little bit of marijuana, you're unlikely to be harassed. That is not true, I would suggest, in Langley, in Regina, in Yellowknife, in Nunavut. There are a lot of places where, you know, you are going to be arrested and you're going to potentially have your children taken away from you if you're a parent. As a parent myself, that's a nightmare to me. So this is the problem on the access. The supply end's getting better. I don't want to sort of monopolize the conversation and talk all night about this. Good question.
You've talked all about the physical.
Yes.
I think there's physical pain. What about emotional?
Yes. Well, that's going to be category 2. Category 2 is anything under the sun, as long as your doctor will sign the forms and they've consulted with a specialist. And so, for a wide range of either emotional or psychiatric conditions, mental health issues, you will be in category 2. Things like anxiety or depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, a whole range of things that marijuana can provide benefit for, might not, might. You can get in as a category 2 applicant, but it will require you to take that extra step of specialist counsel. I'll get 2 in the back.
I'm wondering if you found that physicians are not wanting to sign for that type of treatment because they get some kind of kickbacks from pharmaceutical companies when the more that they...
Yeah, I have not seen direct evidence of that. The sort of anti-pharmaceutical cynic in me thinks there's something there at play. I mean, you know, look, I don't think it's fair to put an allopathic physician that's been trained in single compound drugs their entire career, and that's what they're used to, and that's what they do as a profession, but to put them in a position to prescribe a product that they don't know anything about, and it's not even prescribing it. You know, they are the ones that allow you to be a legal person in a way, because if you're a marijuana user and you're not in this system, you are illegal. Your use of marijuana is absolutely barred by the criminal law. And I don't think that's the role that doctors feel comfortable playing in our society. We don't really ask them to do that for really any other substances, certainly not natural health products, many of which you can buy at Capers or Choices or your natural health product store, and if you ate the whole pill bottle, you wouldn't wake up next morning, right? So we don't ask them to play that role in society. And what we've done with this system is we've taken away the ability of people that are much more comfortable filling that role, a naturopath who works with herbs, a doctor of traditional Chinese medicine who works with herbs. Cannabis is a traditional Chinese medicine. It's been in the pharmacopoeia of Chinese medicines for thousands of years. So as a government, I think Health Canada has made some poor choices in that regard. So far, the courts have been reluctant to say, well, they may be bad choices, but we're not quite there to say they're unconstitutional choices. And there's quite a difference there as well. Yes?
What do you know about multiple people growing for whatever?
Yeah, so that's the supply end. And I'll just briefly segue into supply. Say you're able to get your authorization to possess dried marijuana. Where do you get marijuana from? You could get it from a dispensary. When you do that, you are breaking the law by buying it, and they are breaking the law by selling it to you. It is not legal for authorized persons to buy marijuana from compassionate societies. Absolutely unequivocally illegal. As the buyer, you're engaged in trafficking marijuana. As the seller, they're engaged in trafficking marijuana.
But it's legal once they got it in their hand then.
The minute it's in your hand, the possession is legal, because you are authorized to possess it, but it's not a legal transaction to purchase it. The only legal sources of marijuana are these. If you are an authorized person, you can apply to the government for a personal production license. That is a license that allows you to produce marijuana for yourself. You get to grow a certain number of plants. That number is derived by the government using a formula based on your average daily consumption as certified by your doctor. Comes out to be about 5 plants per gram of daily usage. Government makes a sort of a whole bunch of assumptions in their formula about yields and how you're going to grow and how many harvests you're going to have. And I could spend, I'm not an expert in growing marijuana, although I've sort of become somewhat knowledgeable about the topic. There's a whole bunch of problems there, but be that as it may, at least they give you the opportunity to grow for yourself. You can designate someone else to grow for you if you are physically incapable or simply don't want to, or not in a physical situation that you can grow for yourself. You can pick one person to grow for you. That person cannot have a criminal record for a whole bunch of different designated drug offenses, including cultivation of marijuana. So you're sort of taking a lot of expert growers off the table with that provision. But be that as it may, you can designate somebody, they can grow for you, and then they can sell that marijuana to you. That is a legal transaction, and only to you, not to anyone else. The third option, and I'll answer your questions in a moment, the third option is you can order it from Health Canada. Health Canada has a contracted supply called Prairie Plant Systems that grows marijuana for the government in a mine shaft in Manitoba. Their top secret sort of location. We wanted pictures and stuff, and they wouldn't tell us anything about it in the trial. They think that they've got production practices that they really don't want to get out there in the black market. I find that a little bit ludicrous, frankly. But be that as it may, and Jason may have a few words to say about Health Canada's marijuana. Be that as it may, it's $150 an ounce plus PST. I'm sorry, plus GST. I don't think they charge PST. Plus GST. They'll ship it to your door. Unfortunately, you know, if you get into arrears with the government, they'll stop shipping it to you. And so if you're unable to really afford it, that source is not really an option for you. We challenged a whole bunch of the supply side provisions. Health Canada's got the setup where you can have 3 licenses to grow and no more than 3 in any one physical site. And what we said in the court case was, look, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. if you got 10 patients together and they want to pool their resources and have sort of